Picture this. August 28th, 2005, Sunday morning, New Orleans, Louisiana. You wake up to the sound of your neighbor pounding on your door. "We gotta go, now!" You turn on the TV. A massive hurricane is spinning in the Gulf of Mexico. Category 5. Winds at 175 miles per hour. And it's aimed directly at your city. For the first time in New Orleans history, the mayor issues a mandatory evacuation. "Get out now," he says. "This is the storm we've feared for years." But you don't have a car. Your family doesn't have money for a hotel. You're one of 100,000 people who can't leave. So you grab what you can carry and head to the Louisiana Superdome, the shelter of last resort. 24 hours later, the city would be underwater. 1,833 people would be dead, and the Superdome, that refuge you ran to, would become a living hell. This is Hurricane Katrina, the storm that exposed America's darkest truths. Sunday, August 28th, the Superdome opens its doors at 8 a.m. You line up with thousands of others, families carrying pillows, elderly people in wheelchairs, parents holding babies, everyone thinking the same thing. We'll be here for a day, maybe two. Security checks everyone at the door. No weapons, no alcohol. They search your bags, let you through. Inside, it's surreal. You're standing on the floor of a football stadium, the New Orleans Saints logo at midfield, seats stretching up into darkness. About 10,000 people settle in. You claim a spot on the concrete floor, spread out a blanket. Your kids think it's an adventure, camping in a stadium. They don't understand the fear in your eyes. The National Guard is there, 150 soldiers. They seem confident. "We've done this before," one tells you. "Hurricane George in '98, Ivan in 2004. We know the drill. But this isn't George. This isn't Ivan. This is Katrina." Outside, the sky darkens. Wind picks up. At 6 p.m., rain begins to fall. Not normal rain. Sheets of water driven sideways by wind that sounds like a freight train. You can hear it even inside the dome. A low roar that never stops. By nightfall, everyone knows. This is different. This is the real deal. Monday, August 29th. 6:10 a.m., Katrina makes landfall. You're trying to sleep on the hard floor when you hear it. A sound like thunder, then another, and another. People sit up, confused. What is that? Then you see it. A hole in the roof, water pouring through. Not dripping, pouring, like someone turned on a massive faucet in the sky. David Duplantier, working security that night, watched it happen. The roof literally looked like an eggshell. It started to peel. Pieces of the roof membrane, huge white sheets, tear away in the wind. More holes open up. Rain floods into the stadium. People scramble away from the leaks, pushing toward the edges. Your blanket is soaking wet. Everything you brought is ruined. The wind outside hits 140 miles per hour. You can hear debris slamming into the building, metal screeching, glass shattering somewhere. The whole structure shakes. A piece of debris falls from the ceiling, crashes onto the floor near where families are huddled. People scream. Parents cover their children. Everyone realizes, we're not safe here. The building itself is coming apart, but you can't leave. Outside, the wind would kill you. Inside, the roof might collapse. You're trapped. And then the power goes out. Complete darkness. 30,000 people. The number has grown overnight, in pitch black. Children crying. People shouting for loved ones they can't see. When emergency lights finally kick in, you can see faces. Pure terror. By Monday afternoon, word spreads through the dome. The levees have breached. The city is flooding. You don't understand what that means yet. How bad could it be? But then National Guard soldiers start setting up on the second level, moving people upstairs. And you realize, the water is coming inside. New Orleans sits in a bowl. Much of the city is 6 feet below sea level. For decades, levees and pumps kept Lake Pontchartrain from swallowing the city whole. But Katrina's storm surge, a wall of water 28 feet high, overwhelmed everything. 53 levee breaches, 53 places where water poured into the city. The lower 9th Ward, where you used to live, disappears under 20 feet of water in minutes. Houses lifted off foundations, cars floating like toys, people climbing into attics, then onto roofs, praying someone will see them. At the Superdome, refugees keep arriving, soaking wet, traumatized. One man swam here from 3 blocks away. A woman carried her elderly mother on her back through chest-deep water. They collapse on the floor, gasping. The count grows. 15,000, then 20,000, then more. Nobody planned for this many people. There's not enough food, not enough water, not enough anything. By Tuesday, the Superdome has become hell. The toilets stopped working Monday night. With 30,000 people and no plumbing, you can imagine what happens. The bathrooms overflow. Sewage spreads across floors. The smell, you'll never forget that smell. A mix of human waste, sweat, fear, and decay. Taffany Smith, 25 years old, holding her 3-week-old baby. We pee on the floor. We are like animals. You haven't bathed in 3 days. Your clothes stick to your skin. Your throat is dry. There's drinking water, but not nearly enough. They're rationing it. 1 bottle per family per day. In 90-degree heat, with no air conditioning. Food runs out. MREs, meals ready to eat, were supposed to last. They don't. By Tuesday evening, there's nothing left. People with diabetes have no insulin. People with heart conditions have no medicine. The sick and elderly lie on the floor, unattended, suffering. You watch a mother beg a National Guard soldier for baby formula. He gives her 2 diapers. When they're dirty, scrape them off and use them again. She stands there, holding her infant, crying silently. At night, the dome goes dark. No lights. 30,000 people in near total darkness. And that's when the worst happens. Reports come of rapes, of assaults, of violence in the shadows. Parents form circles around their children. April Thomas, with her 11 kids, makes the older boys stand guard all night. You have to fend people off constantly, she says. You have to fight for your life. A man tries to escape by jumping the barricade. He runs toward the exit. National Guard soldiers chase him down. They force him to the terrace, show him what's outside. Floodwater everywhere, rising. He didn't realize how bad it is, says Sergeant Caleb Wells. He just broke down, started bawling. By Wednesday, people start dying. At least 6 deaths in the Superdome. 4 from natural causes, heat exhaustion, heart attacks. 1 drug overdose, 1 suicide. A man climbs to the upper deck and jumps, 50 feet down. He told someone before he did it, "I have nothing left to live for." But it's what people see in the bathrooms that haunts them forever. Regina Halley, trying to use the restroom with her sister. When we got to the bowl, the big sinks where lots of people wash their hands, there were 2 children in the bowl, ages maybe 3 and 5, a boy and a girl, face down. They can't be alive. Were they? Were they dead? Regina doesn't know. Nobody investigated. There was no one to call, no police, no medical examiner, just thousands of people trying to survive. The bodies of those who died are lined up in a hallway, white body bags, a makeshift morgue. They keep the living away, but you see them anyway. Hard not to in a building where 30,000 people are packed into every available space. A 9-year-old girl, Nia Burnett, trapped in a nearby hospital. I remember a line of white body bags. They kept us away from the dead. They line the hallway with bodies. It's Wednesday, August 31st, 3 days since the storm hit, and you're still trapped. On TV, when you can find one with battery power, you see politicians talking. President Bush flying over in Air Force One, looking down at the disaster from 30,000 feet, not landing, just looking. "Brownie, you're doing a heck of a job," Bush tells FEMA Director Michael Brown. "Meanwhile, you haven't eaten in 2 days. Your children are dehydrated. The elderly woman next to you hasn't moved in hours. You think she might be dead. Where are the buses? Where is the food? Where is the help?" New Orleans is 80% black. Most people trapped in the Superdome are poor and black. And across America, people watch on TV and wonder, would the response be this slow if this was a white suburb? If these were wealthy people? The answer, you already know, is no. Finally, on Wednesday afternoon, buses arrive. Hundreds of them. A convoy stretching for miles. You've never been so relieved to see a school bus in your life. But loading 30,000 people takes time. Hours. The line stretches forever. People push, shove, desperate to get out, to breathe fresh air, to escape this nightmare. You wait 6 hours in line. Your legs ache. Your children cling to you. But you're getting out. Finally. You're leaving hell. As your bus pulls away from the Superdome, you see New Orleans for the first time since the storm. It doesn't look real. It looks like something from a movie, a disaster film. Except this is your city, your home. Water everywhere. Not puddles, not flooding, an ocean. Downtown New Orleans is a lake. Buildings standing in 10, 15, 20 feet of water. Only rooftops visible. Cars completely submerged. Street signs poking up through brown, murky water filled with debris. And then you see them. People on roofs. Hundreds of people. Stranded. Waving white shirts. Bed sheets with help spray painted in black. Entire families. Grandparents, parents, children. Sitting on their roofs in the blazing sun. Waiting. Praying someone will see them. The Coast Guard is trying. Helicopters buzz constantly overhead, lowering baskets, pulling people up one at a time. But there are too many. It will take days to get everyone. Some people have been on their roofs since Monday. 4 days. No food, no water. Burning in the sun by day, shivering at night. Some don't make it. Bodies float in the water below. Your bus navigates slowly through flooded streets. Water laps at the windows. You pass a nursing home. Every window broken. You don't want to think about what happened to the elderly people inside. The final count takes months to calculate. 1,833 dead. But everyone knows the real number is higher. Bodies found in attics, in crawl spaces, floating in the water. Some never found at all. New Orleans loses 29% of its population. Over 100,000 people never come back. Entire neighborhoods, like the lower Ninth Ward, are abandoned. Houses stand empty, marked with spray paint showing the dates searched and how many bodies found inside. The economic damage, $125 billion. The costliest natural disaster in American history. 300,000 homes destroyed. 1 million people displaced. Families scattered across America, never reuniting. But the damage goes deeper than buildings and money. Hurricane Katrina exposed America's racial and economic divide. It showed what happens when the poor and vulnerable are left behind, when infrastructure fails, when government response is too slow, too little, too late. Michael Brown, the FEMA director who Bush praised, resigns in disgrace. President Bush's approval rating plummets. The images of Americans, mostly black Americans, trapped on rooftops, begging for help, while politicians gave speeches, those images changed something in the American psyche. We saw ourselves clearly, and it wasn't pretty. Today, New Orleans has rebuilt. The Superdome was repaired, $336 million, and reopened in 2006. When the Saints played their first home game back, the city erupted in joy. It felt like hope, like maybe things could be okay again. But the scars remain. PTSD is common among survivors. Depression, anxiety. 20 years later, people still can't talk about it without breaking down. If you survive the Superdome, you don't forget. You remember the smell, the heat, the darkness, the desperation in people's eyes, the way strangers became family, sharing the last sips of water, protecting each other's children. You remember the elderly suffering, the babies crying, the man who jumped, the bodies in the hallway. And you remember this: when disaster strikes, it's the poor who suffer most, the vulnerable, the forgotten, those without cars to evacuate, without money for hotels, without the privilege of escape. Hurricane Katrina taught us that nature doesn't discriminate, but society does. If you remember Katrina, share your story in the comments. Were you in the Superdome? Did you evacuate? Did you lose someone you loved? Share this with someone who was there. Subscribe to keep these memories alive, because those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. And the next storm is always coming. The question is, will we be ready? And more importantly, will we take care of everyone this time? New Orleans remembers. The water has receded, but the lessons remain.